Hello, everybody. The deadline to stay in the NBA draft has passed. Who's staying in the draft? But more importantly, for your broskies in basketball, who's coming back to school, including some big news for Big Blue Nation. And of course, everything else under the college basketball sun right now. Recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by DrRoto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. Welcome to One and Done, your fast break of college basketball information. We are powered by the world, the galaxy, now I say the universe's greatest website, and that's DrRoto.com. I am your sometimes humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich. Happen to be the conductor. That's right, of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train. Find me on X at Dr. William Cannon. Follow me, and I will smash that follow back button. But enough about me. Let's get right to two of the absolute best in the business to do it. And we're going to start, as I am known to do, with El Capitan himself, the captain of the Green Screens Media ship. Follow him on X at MC Holland 34, the OG Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, what it do, baby?
Yo, what's up, my man? I'm glad to be here tonight to talk about all the happenings. Plenty of news to dive into, but wanted to talk about the old one and done summer road trip that we've been on. If you guys do not know, we are doing interviews with head coaches from across the country and making stops. We've made a couple of stops already. The first interview, Chris Victor from Seattle U, that was an awesome interview both of you guys got to do. So go check that out if you haven't. Also, Tim Miles, we did that one yesterday from San Jose State. Eric got to chat with him. That was a very, very fun conversation. And also, we have coming up Santa Clara head coach Herb Sendek. We'll be posting that probably tomorrow or the next day. And we got plenty more coming on that summer road trip. So stay tuned for those special shows that we're doing. But we are back to talk about all the news and rumblings from this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're taking the road trip. We're not getting our frequent flyer miles this summer. No sirree, Bob. We're on the road trip. So hang around with us as we hit the road. But before we do that, I need to get to my guy who is last in the intros, but you can bet your bottom dollar that man is first in your hearts. The Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media, you can find in those Twitter streets at Fantasy Nav. He's Eric is the blue, Mr. Eric Romov. What's up, man?
Man, we've been spacing out these portal shows, these news shows a little bit because we are trying to tell ourselves that things are slowing down a little bit in the world of college basketball, and that is an absolute farce. Every time that we plan one of these shows, all of a sudden we are getting peppered with news left and right. We have a jam-packed one in store for y'all tonight. And speaking of jam-packed, anyone taking a look at this comment section? Sheesh, we're like, what, 40, 50 comments already? Big Blue Nation is out here strong in full force. Peanut Butter Posse here, excited about Jaxson Robinson, the second coming of Jesus Shuttleworth.
Jesus!
Perhaps Ray Allen reincarnated. The generational run continues, and so on and so on. Love seeing the excitement from you there, Peanut Butter Posse. Love seeing y'all in the live chat. And joined by another member of Big Blue Nation, Brad, hopping in here. UK, baby!
Brad's
feeling excited about this big get. This was one that he kept you waiting, but I think it might be worth the wait. We're definitely going to dive into that news later on in the show.
No doubt about it. Keep the live chat going. If you're a part of Big Blue Nation or not, we want to hear from you. So make sure you hop in there and let us know you're hanging out with us tonight. Or if you're not watching live, you're watching after it posts on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons either way and hop in the comment section. Let us know who your team is, if you got the guys you wanted out of the portal, if you're just sitting there with your thumb up. Well, we're not going to go that far, but let us know how you feel about your team in the comments either way. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's get to our headlines. You know what? we might as well just not even – we're going to get right to it. We're getting right to the Big Blue Nation news. Why not? Jaxson Robinson ends the suspense, withdraws from the NBA draft, and, of course, commits to Kentucky. If you're paying attention to the live chat, you would have known this even if you hadn't been listening to us. Flood. Jesus Shuttlesworth has arrived. Yes, exactly. Oh, Joe, though. Joe's hopping in saying he's happy to have Robinson, but pump the brakes, guys. Now, look.
Ooh.
Hey, he left everybody to wait until after the deadline passed. He announced this morning. So today's Thursday. If you're watching live, he announced Thursday morning it would be the Wildcats. And, of course, Robinson joins his former coach, Mark Pope, in Lexington. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Eric on this one. What are your thoughts on Jaxson Robinson coming over from BYU following coach after leaving the draft?
Yeah, follows Coach Pope over to Kentucky after a quick detour in the draft process. We'll keep the road trip theme alive here. Looking back to his time with BYU last season specifically, he played 33 games, about 27 minutes per game, chipped in 14 points, 2.5 boards, and shot right at the Heinrich line, 35% from three. Just a tremendous scorer from the wing, right? Type of guy that can go out there and create his own shot, but really only a scorer, right? Like, at least that is the part of his game that shines the brightest. Maybe he adds a few more tools to his tool chest as the season goes on, but if nothing else, you can use scoring in any system, specifically this system that he knows well from his time with Coach Pope. So, as evidenced by the very busy comment section, a lot to be excited about for Big Blue Nation with the addition of Jaxson Robinson, our number 90 player on Mike's big board.
Yeah, last night it was pretty funny watching all the all the social media posts about what's going on. Somebody wake him up, and there you go. He decided to add a little suspense, and here he is. Now he is a Kentucky Wildcat, which is what we thought once we saw Chaz Lanier end up at Tennessee. We thought this was the possibility if he did not go to the draft. I'm not surprised he didn't end up in the draft. There wasn't a ton of buzz as far as his workouts and things like that, but we know he's a scorer. And just looking at the current Kentucky roster, right? We talk about Kentucky a lot, obviously, with the coaching change and everything. But here's our projected roster right here. Shrinks for me. I mean, man, this team's going to be able to shoot. A ton of quality scorers and a ton of shooters. Defensively, they're going to be very good as well. We've talked about Butler, we've talked about Williams. So you have to like the outside shooting and the defense, the scoring ability of this roster. Weaknesses, though, is there a true star on this team? I don't know that you absolutely need that per se in today's college game. But, there's not really who's the guy at the end of games for me, I guess, is the one thing. And then also the primary facilitator thing that's just going to come up all offseason until we see it not on paper and we see it on the court. I'm just going to say, who's going to run that point? So we have the asterisks by the guys' names here, projected starting lineup. To me, it would look like Creesa starting at the point guard, Butler off the ball, Robinson at that 3 spot, Carr at the 4, and then Williams starting at the 5. A lot of people are going to want Butler to obviously start at that point, maybe slide Bria into that 2-guard spot for more shooting, Robinson at the 3, Carr at the 4, Williams at the 5. Or you could actually take Carr out of that starting lineup and play a little bit smaller. Robinson does have some size, but he's not a strong rebounder, so you're going to sacrifice a lot of your rebounding opportunity by playing like a Creesa, Butler, Brea, Robinson, and Williams. So versatility also on this roster. And don't forget, you got guys that coming off the bench like Garrison, Olminar, always a nice piece. We're not sure exactly what we're going to get for the freshmen. Don't think they're going to be counted on as much as, as Peanut Butter Pasta says, best 1 through 12 team in the country. But yeah, I mean, you look at this roster and this is, to me, with Jaxson Robinson's ad, it moves the needle. I don't think it moves it all the way into a top 10 to 15 status, but yeah, I would consider Kentucky a top 25, between 20 and 25 type team. I still think they are missing, that star quality and that primary facilitator.
It sounds like that you are, Mike, in the same camp as Joe Cornette in the comments is, saying pump the brakes a little bit, right? So it's tough, right? I understand the excitement, but he is a scorer. And like you said, Eric, that translates up and down the system, right? Or up and down any system. Is if you can score the basketball, you can do it anywhere, more or less. So Brad Pageant jumping back in and saying that it's all there, the elite defense. And, I mean, Brad's optimistic about the way that this season will end, obviously saying that it's going to end in the championship there. And I think if they have that kind of roster, the talent is there that if you get hot and you're playing right and you're synced up and all the – who's the point guard?
They want it to be Butler. It's Butler because San Diego State, they had Trammell. So apparently that means Butler played point guard a lot last year, but he didn't. So that's my thing, right? Like this team could shoot. Like it's crazy how many really, really good shooters are on this team, but you need someone to facilitate that offense. Williams is going to do a lot of that from the elbow and from different spots on the floor from his big man position. But if you're looking at Kurt Kriisa, if you're looking at Lamont Butler to be like this, this savant to get it out to the shooters, I don't know if that's really his role. And that's not a knock on the roster at all. This all could come together, but we don't even know what this is going to look like on the court. Like this is a brand new team. Like who knows how these guys are even going to fit together? And I think that's the thing that Joe Cornette's talking about here. He's like you have to have chemistry. Like the ceiling is, I'm saying 20 to 25 to start the year. The ceiling is top 10. Like absolutely, I can see this roster being in the Final Four, the Elite Eight. Absolutely. So more comments pouring in here, Jay.
Yeah, well, I feel like this is an Elite Eight type of a team, right? And if you're hot, Mike, you've made this well known in how you feel about a tournament. Like, once you get into the Sweet 16, literally any team at that point can go on a run and win there. So, but the comments are indeed pouring in.
Eddie
Congress,
Congress.
True star on the team is the system. I think Eddie may be on to something here. Hope is no fool.
I do like that.
Hope is no fool. Hope is no fool. Bringing in the players that he wants, the exact players that he wants for this system because now he's at Kentucky, and no disrespect to BYU, but BYU is not Kentucky, even though
that's a great name.
Speaking of elite,
BYU now.
Whew.
Yeah, but again, no, Kentucky is not BYU now. But understanding, if you've got a guy like that, that's not he's going to have playing time, but they're not going to ask him to be the guy. He's going to get a lot of running. He's going to be important for them, but he's not the guy for them. So, I mean, yeah, and we got Carey happening there. Bingo, Carey, good to see you. Carey, Darren Rudder there. Bingo. That is.
Yeah, the spacing is going to be crazy on this team.
Yeah, they're going to be able to either shoot themselves back into or shoot themselves out of any game at any given time. We're going to see it happen throughout the year, I'm sure of it. Especially if you're, you know how much we love Kurt Kriisa here on One and Done, but it's Kurt Kriisa. Do I need to really go? Do I need to elaborate? We appreciate everybody for hanging out with us now. That is a talented projected roster there. No doubt about it. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. I mean, honestly, it's kind of on brand for for Kentucky, to make sure, the deadline's already passed, and I'm going to tell you the next morning. I'm going to make you wait. I love it. I love the attitude around this program right now. I love what Coach Pope is doing. Can't wait to see how the season goes for them. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Like I said, hit all those buttons, like, subscribe, notification bells, bing, so you don't miss a minute of our coverage. Let's move on now to some other notable NBA draft deadline news. These cats that we're going to talk about right now are staying in the draft. They're going pro. Hasta la ball game, baby, however you want to put it. Who knows? But they are not sticking around in the college game. I'm going to start with DaRon Holmes here, formerly of the Dayton Flyers. Makes sense that he would fly into the NBA. What else does he really have to prove at this level, I would say? A lot of people saying he's probably passing on a $2 million and maybe even more paycheck in terms of an NIL deal to come back. But this is a guy that's going to get to that second contract a lot faster, and I feel like he's going to have a pretty good career in the league. Who's next there on the list, Mike?
Yeah, next on the list is Jaylen Wells, the wing from Washington State, one of the best pure shooters, and one of the pure shooters that actually stayed in the draft. So must have gotten some assurances. Jay, as you mentioned, what does he say? The weakest draft in the history of entire mankind.
It barely even qualifies as a draft.
Is it even a draft? Like it's hardly. They did a lottery. They did a lottery, and people were trying to avoid having to be in the lottery. That's how bad it was. They didn't
people
want
were trying to win games at the end of the year to get out of the lottery.
Oh my God, look at this class.
That's hilarious. But a lot of people thought that Wells was going to be coming back, playing for a different college team. He was in the transfer portal. I think it's number 44 before we took him off the board yesterday. But I'm sure somebody fell in love with his size on the wing and his shooting ability. So Jaylen Wells sticking in the draft. Eric, who's next on the list?
Yeah, next up is a player that we spotlighted with a crystal ball a few shows ago. That is Cam Christie, the former Minnesota guard. We kind of hedged a little bit, but said that we thought at the time he'd be sticking in the draft. It has now come to fruition. It sort of felt like this was the plan all along, right? So where he sits right now, he's like a top 35, 40-ish kind of guy, right? Depending on your service of choice. And I think, like you mentioned a moment ago, he's probably getting some positive feedback, some assurances that he might creep up a little bit in the rankings as we get closer to draft night. And ultimately, teams are out there. They're going to fall in love with his upside, and they're going to fall in love with his age. He is a very young man. There's still a lot of development in front of him. A lot of NBA front offices and coaching staffs like to get their hands on these moldable pieces of clay and really develop them in their style and in their system. So
to me,
Cam Christie.
Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to step all over you there. I thought you were done, but I wanted to say, like, Cam Christie is one of those guys that I feel like will be taken, like, is getting some assurances of some guaranteed stuff, guaranteed money on a contract early in the second round.
Yeah.
So I feel like he could be one of those guys that, he's a top 40 prospect across a lot of those services, like you said, man. But I do feel like he's going to be one of those guys that right on the other side of that second round turn, we might see him pretty early. I didn't mean to
so much upside. I'm gonna step over you this time. So as I step over you, dear Jay, we'll just go up the ladder here. But a lot of that, like you said, Eric, has to do with the age, right? And same thing with Johnny Furphy. Like, this guy exploded onto the scene last year. Almost saved Kansas's season, right? Like, with the injuries to Dickinson and McCullough. But he's 6'9", he can really shoot it. Deceptive athleticism for Furphy, projecting as a top 20 pick. So this obviously makes sense for him to go pro here. And then, of course, last on the list, Jay, who you got? A familiar last name there.
Bronny James. Bron's kid.
Bron James.
That's right. I shouldn't say. He's respect for Bronny and the showing that he put out at the NBA Draft Combine. Of course, Bronny is the one that everyone's talking about all over the place. Don't look at this guy's stats. Okay, we know he had the heart issue at the beginning of the year. USC was just a disaster, honestly. Like, didn't meet up to expectations at all, and just didn't align for Bronny. But feel like he definitely got that feedback, got the word right that somebody. If I'm here at some point, I'm getting taken. Somebody's not passing me at pick X or whatever, right? Like maybe the Lakers at 55, So I can't imagine them passing on him if he hasn't been taken yet. And I saw some NBA Twitter is so fantastic on so many levels. And I saw a lot of people saying like that Detroit should just take Bronny and hold up the whole NBA. Until they can get what they want for him. I think it'd be hilarious. But honestly, it's a lot for a kid to put up with being raised as LeBron James's kid, like I said at the start. But respect to Bronny for always looking like he's handling things the right way. And, good luck to him. He just wants to play ball, right? Like, he's just trying to play ball. And I can't blame him for sticking around in the draft for Sure, man. The comments are flowing. I'm gonna dip my toes into the waters of the live chat right now, like the waters of Lake Minnetonka. Gonna get purified here. I don't know if getting purified is the thing that we would do in the live chat for one and done. But here we go. All right. Okay, guys. Do we really need to? We can't spend every single minute of this show talking Kentucky basketball. We could, and I know y'all would appreciate
What the
it.
people
of course,
want.
we love Big Blue Nation. So listen, okay, so Travis Perry run a point, Reed Shep made it work. All right.
Travis Perry, Reed Shep comp.
Wait, Babu right above that's got it's got the read there. 72 3-point attempts per game. It's gonna be the method here.
He's talking about that Kentucky Louisville game and have 72 attempts. That's hilarious.
Tell me how that's not going to be fun to watch. Exactly. You think it's not going to be over? Both of those teams aren't going to shoot at least 36 times from beyond the arc. It's going to be the whole game, every other possession at least, for sure. What else do we got here in the old comments? There goes some Jerry Tarkanian references there. Never get tired of that. Oh, of course, Eric's people. Joe talking about Eric's with the beautiful bearded bastards, of course.
Yeah.
There they are, and who are for all.
We are for all.
Yes, the BBB is for all the people, one and done. We are a show of the people, of course. Bronny going to be good. With his little brother, that's going to be LeBron 2.0. Are we really going to do that?
Pressure.
Here we go. Let's lump it onto that one too. Why not? That's what we do, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the same way. Eddie's dropping in saying 35 3 attempts per game is the UK betting line next year. I mean,
man, they're going to be able to score. I mean, you saw BYU's offense. They were able to shoot threes with Waterman and Robinson, and I mean, yeah, it's just going to be Trevor Nell. It's going to be the same thing with more skill on the floor and some guys that actually play some lockdown defense. Appreciate all those comments, guys.
Because it's Kentucky and not BYU. I get so tired of thinking, having to say that. I know earlier on they're not BYU East, if you will. It's Kentucky. They're going to be great. They're going to win right away. It's not really going out on the limb, but they are. Just facts. Big facts. Thanks for that. Of course, we'll always talk to Big Blue Nation and talk about Big Blue Nation. But let's move on now to some cats that are coming back for one more year of school, but are transferring. So withdrawing from the draft and transferring. Mike, the top 5 guy on our big board, coming back.
Yes. This one was a little surprising for me. I thought he was going to, especially in this draft, for his skill set, I am very surprised. But he is set up to make a lot of money. We saw the Great Osabor deal. I clearly can have a chance to beat that. Highly skilled as Coleman Hawkins, just super versatile, even on both ends of the floor, especially in the college game. So everyone's going to be involved. I'm sure, with all these guys, we're going to start to see lists. But Hawkins still number 5 on the big board. Down there at number 37, Eric, who you got?
Yeah, not Hawkins, but Watkins, Jamir Watkins to be exact. The former Florida State wing legitimately took this one down to the wire last night. Versatile playmaker. He can play the 2, the 3, the 4. There's a number of different ways that a coach and system can deploy him. And so because of that, going to have a long list of suitors that are going to emerge soon, right? We're expecting the list to come out, expecting to see some insane dollar amounts flying around, right? Basically, all these guys that jumped into the process and are now essentially the last chair before the music stops in the portal process, they're getting themselves paid. This might be a strategy I think we see a lot of guys take when teams miss out on a few guys, and there's old Jamir Watkins, arms open, ready to take the bag. So number 37 on our list should be an interesting option for a number of different programs. Mike, right back to you. Move down a couple dozen spots. Number 65, we got Wooga Poplar.
Yeah, whose name is actually being mentioned in the comments from Brad saying, I believe it's Riley next or Wooga. I don't believe Big Blue Nation is going to be involved with him. It's looking like it's going to be hometown Villanova or Oregon. He just visited Villanova. Oregon is set to get a visit up next. One of the best, probably I would say the best pure scorer left in the portal. Can really stretch the floor. We know he's got Final Four experience from a few years ago. So Wooga Poplar sitting here at number 65 on our transfer big board. And an interesting comment from Eddie here saying that he feels like most schools, just spent their money early. But yeah, I think some schools will be able to scrap up some cash and be able to find some of that money to get some of these absolute game changers up at the very top. So we're sitting here at number 65, Jay.
You're not going to tell me that some rich dude somewhere isn't going to cough up $2 million to get a guy like Coleman Hawkins on campus. It would happen.
Yeah. Look, there's not as much money in the entirety of the NIL market right now, but there are plenty of programs that are snubbed that have some money to spend, right?
Needs a crypto John Ruiz.
Yeah, exactly. Every scorned program that thought that they had their guy and then they got sniped at the 11th hour, like that money's burning a hole in their pocket, right? And some guys that might not have commanded those high dollar figures are now in the spot to scoop it up.
Don't you think Wooga's going to get a lot of money? Wooga's going to get paid.
I mean, Villanova better be dropping him a bag.
He's going to get paid, like, for sure. And someone else who I think is going to get paid is obviously Arthur Kaluma, because I'm surprised he came back to school. So I feel like there was something in the works there where he felt like he could get that
little
bag.
nod.
Yeah, a little wink and a nod, a little nudge, maybe even. Little
spicy.
Yeah, a little elbow touch, perhaps. Kaluma brings that experience, right? Like that is one of those. We talk to these coaches, and every time we talk to coaches, it's talk about finding experience, big game experience, and Kaluma brings that. Playing every night in the Big 12. That's basically a grind on its own. You're playing in the toughest arenas and the toughest competition night in and night out. And there's a legit chance that he returns to Manhattan, that he goes back out there to the Little Apple. That's one of the schools that got scorned, right? Like they didn't hit on those guys.
Them and Tech.
So, like, even if it's by default that Kaluma is now fallen back into their laps, they've got the money to spend. And I think that Kaluma is going to take a big chunk of it. But a bunch of schools are going to be interested in him. But this is a talented cat. That he's going to be a very coveted piece on the market, and we will see where he goes. But Kansas State feel like that. I just, what the ones that you recruit best are the ones that you get to keep. What's the one like the one, whatever. Whatever it is. All right,
put that shit in a Valentine's Day card, my guy.
Exactly. This is now one and done. Brought to you by Hallmark. Mike, one more on the slider. Who do you got?
And my man, I'm still reeling from that Valentine's Day card, man. You expect me to follow it up with number 94, Ugonna Onyenso from Kentucky? Yes. Oh, yes, no. One of the best rim protectors in the game. I mean, obviously needs to work on his offensive game. He already dropped the top 5. So, not surprised to see him back in the transfer portal and withdrawing from the trap. At UNC, Louisville, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Alabama. I don't know how Alabama can keep getting all these guys, but what Nate Oates is doing out there is absolutely fantastic. Going to play a game at North Dakota is pretty spectacular stuff. Auburn did the same thing last year where they went to Appalachian State and they lost. Bama's not scared. Their schedule last year was crazy. Like the first 10 games they played were all against top 50 teams. So
right.
Absolutely crazy there. But Onyenso, man, if you need some shot blocking, that's a guy right there that can provide a lot of it.
No doubt about it. You know what else that can provide some energy is the live chat. It's on fire tonight. We got Joe asking Coleman to BYU.
I mean, I saw an article today that BYU's just we're going to talk about them later with an international signing that I'm sure you guys have all seen. But apparently they got some money out there. So I doubt it, but we'll see. Coleman probably to Arkansas, but we'll see. All these guys are going to start dropping lists now that we've just been waiting to see if they were even going to be available in college. So Here we go.
Well, they've got those cool Twitter edits, the coolest now. But I've seen some of the women that actually had. I've liked the ladies' edits better than some of the guys. Like I'm loving all the positivity around women's basketball right now for sure. But Patrick Hunt saying Coleman Hawkins. Oh, okay.
Or Trevon Brazil to St. John's.
St. John's.
I think St. John's is more interested in Jamir Watkins at that 4 spot. So, yeah, all these guys. I mean, everyone's involved. Don't tell me there's no money out there right now.
Yeah, there's plenty of money. Peanut Butter Posse saying Louisville and Arkansas going after Hawkins. Like, I think everybody's in play at this point. Like, if you have a roster spot and you have the ability to scrounge up some money out of some rich guy's ashtray in his car, then, I mean, Hawkins is in play. Okay, like, our guy Corey, our guy, king of the single entry when we talk about DFS, that guy.
Dude, he himself might be able to drop a couple commas on a player.
Why not?
Take down that many single entries.
We'll get him, no doubt about it. We will get him.
Jay, did you see on Twitter somebody asking Coleman Hawkins how much it would take for him to go to their school, and he wrote like $6 or something on a repost.
He just drops his Cash App. He's like, I don't know. I'll let you know when you get there.
No, the guy found I think the guy took a screenshot of his Venmo and said, "Is this your Venmo? How much would it take to get you to go to school?" I'm like,
my God,
we're getting close to some type of structure, but maybe in a few years.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath at all. Devil Doc.
Will Riley coming next. Yeah, man. Highly touted 5-star. We'll see. And this is the time when a lot of 5-star recruits that start making their decisions too. So we never sleep with all the news that's going on. Yeah, you're hearing a lot about that. We'll probably do a show that breaks down a lot of those 2025 guys. So, yeah, appreciate the comment on that. I don't think we've seen Double Doc in here.
No, thanks for hanging out. And Johnny K hopping back in. Good to see you, Johnny. Saying that the Johnnies are interested in Brazil, trying to get him to visit, but that said that Watkins, Johnny's info has always been good. So
Johnny, I want to know how do you feel about that, Johnny? Like, I want to get your take on Brazil versus Watkins with the news that Ledlam and Dingle have to move on.
Bye-bye.
Speaking of people that aren't coming back to school, too soon. That's all right. Good luck to them moving forward, of course. Thanks for hanging out with us. Keep that live chat rolling. All right, Eddie. All right, before we do that, Eddie's saying Riley official visiting Kentucky June 4th and reclassifying to the 13th scholarship. Okay, we'll see. Good stuff, Eddie. Thanks for dropping that in there. Will Riley. Are we resting it all on Will Riley? Are we doing it? We're putting it on. We're betting it on.
Travis Perry was doing those dribbling drills. Remember, like the Steph Curry dribbling drills. So
yeah. I did that today outside my rec center too. So I mean, if we're being honest, both hands, shoot one ball each hand, walking forward while I did it. Does that mean that I can play point guard for Kentucky? Probably, honestly. I mean,
the rumors of your eligibility are true. You got some minutes in those knees.
Well, I got some knees on some minutes. That's about it, though. We'll see it. I don't know if I could do it, but yeah, good stuff there. Keep the live chat rolling. Let's move on now. One more year of school, gents, but they're staying put. They're going back to the school after hopping out of the draft. Who are we starting with, Eric?
Yeah, we're starting off with Mark Sears. This one was kind of interesting. There was some reporting out there that he was going to stick in the draft, and by the time you were done reading that report, there was new reporting coming out that was conflicting that and saying that he was in fact returning. So, with him coming back to this Alabama roster, like they're going to be in that preseason top 5 conversation, maybe even preseason number 1, right? We'll see how the rest of these rosters shake out, but I mean, he's been an All-American for the Tide, right? One of the best guards in the country. I mean, this type of retain is the stuff that legend is made of, right? So, we'll endure endure, I should say, the roller coaster of college basketball reporting when it is news that it is quite this impactful. Mark Sears returning to Alabama makes a big splash.
Why would you not want to play for Nate Oates? What about Nate Oates? Why would you not want to play for that guy?
Yeah.
And, I mean, you just saw North Dakota is getting the game just so Just so
Nate
our guy
Grant
Grant
Nelson.
Nelson can go up there and play a game like an hour from where he's
You
from.
can
Like,
go home. You can go home to mom's kitchen and get a hot meal, right?
look, he didn't have to put North Dakota on the schedule. Why would you not want to play for Oates? What a guy! All right,
Man,
Mike,
that's
who
the
next?
guy.
Yeah.
I mean, my guy's pretty exciting too. He's a 2-time defending champion from the University of Connecticut. Holding up that hardware, it's Alex Karaban. Excellent shooter. Like, clearly the guy's a winner. Now he's going to get a chance to be more of an alpha type role, right? He's always been kind of that, that fourth or fifth option in the starting five. Going to be elevated a little bit more, probably going to be asked to do a little bit more, probably wants to showcase that he can do a little bit more without, all of the, the guys that have been in that program over the last couple of years. So, yeah, Alex Karaban, obviously huge news for Connecticut fans. Have really swung their odds. If you look at the betting market for them to win the national championship, it was a pretty wild swing when he made his announcement to come through. But, Jay, who you got next on the list?
I got Peanut Butter Posse saying Sears is out of business in the live chat. Not that Sears Peanut Butter Posse, not the one that sells washers and dryers and vacuums and clothes and shoes and microwaves. No, different. This is Mark Sears Peanut Butter Posse. He's not out of business, sir. But I have Payton Sandfort, of course, the Iowa wing. Talk about a big win. The Hawkeye program needed this one for sure. The super talented scorer from the wing. His return, I would say, like this, Iowa's in the conversation again to make the tournament. If Sandfort doesn't come back, that's a tough sell for me. But Iowa, got to put him in that conversation again. Good stuff for Sandfort there. Now, one of the guys who, Eric, when we do our DFS shows, we always talk about Wake Forest, good or bad.
No doubt.
Here's some good news for the Fighting Tim Duncans.
Yeah, the return of Hunter Sallis, their guard, a guard that really emerged for them in a big way after coming over, I believe, from Gonzaga in the year prior. This is huge news for Coach Forbes and for the Deeks. Kind of like Sandfort with Iowa, right? Makes Wake Forest a tourney contender pretty quickly, right? A two-way type of guard can contribute on both ends of the floor, and he shined last year when he was in a big role. I mean, if he takes a step forward, like he could be in the All-American conversation, right? So a huge return for those Demon Deacons. Hunter Sallis making his way back to Wake Forest. Mike, close us out here with Eric Dixon returning to Nova.
Yeah, so some good news rolling in here for Villanova fans. They can breathe at least one sigh of relief, I would say here. This is one of the best bigs in the Big East. They got the commitment from the Fresno State big man Enoch Boyake, and now maybe Dixon can play his natural position, which is the 4. So I don't know if that had anything to do with that decision, but him not having to play the 5 and guard the Kalkbrenners and all these big dudes. Playing a more natural position, he's really, really good and effective stretch for. So, Eric Dixon, one of those guys. But man, like Villanova needs to get something else cooking. We talked about how they lost Max Shula the other day, who ended up transferring, or not, I would say transferring back, but ended up going back to VCU, and that's kind of one of those things where you lose him, one of the most effective guys, right, as far as offensively that was in the portal. And now you kind of need this Wooga Poplar thing to happen. So if you get a duo like Poplar and Dixon, you can at least be very competitive, I think, in the Big East. But yeah, they're going to need to make one more splash over here for Eric Dixon for sure, to go with Eric Dixon for sure.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they'll find a way to make it happen. But Dixon, in the meantime, is a great get for Villanova for sure. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Do your part in the Green Screens Media universe, you breadheads. Do your thing. Hit all those buttons. Like, subscribe, notification bells. Every time we go live. Make sure you do all of that, as I feel like I'm about to go live. You know why? It's Caleb Love season.
Here we go.
Returning. Arizona, which of course, freshmen that are coming in, it sort of ruffles those feathers a little bit. Caleb Love, baby. What did you think you were going to get? He does. But on the macro level for Arizona, that secures the Wildcats as a top 10 team, top 15 at worst. I would say they did lose consensus five-star prospect Jaxson Robinson, which is like instantly at worst second team All-American in the name game. Jaxson Robinson, are you kidding me? But unfortunately, he said Arizona. He said to Arizona and went to Arizona State. But so obviously, like, I guess the writing was on the wall there. A case of good news, bad news for the Wildcats.
Yeah, it kind of brings up the age-old question, right? Would you rather have a proven guy or a star freshman? And in today's game, like, we talked to Coach Miles from San Jose State the other day, and he was talking about how, like, these COVID years and how the transfer portal works now. You could literally go out and have a senior-laden team every single year if you wanted to, and it's kind of hurting the incoming freshmen. Where these guys are signing and then they're getting recruited over in the transfer portal. So Sainon's one of those guys. I just tough, man. Like Caleb Love, like you think about his ceiling and his floor, right, from a game-to-game situation, and we know he's capable of taking you to a title game. We know he's capable of a first-round exit. So I don't know, Eric, like. Tough call. I think you always want the more experienced player, but what's your reaction to how this all went down?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll start with regard to Sainon. I think this is a pretty smart move for him, right? Like he should get significantly more run at ASU, as opposed to trying to elbow his way past Caleb Love. Obviously a great move for Bobby Hurley to bring in a player of his caliber. It's got Sun Devil Nation sticking those forks up. So yeah, I mean he brings in 2 5-stars in this cycle with Sainon and Quaintance, right? So yeah, I mean the Sun Devils have to feel pretty good about how this one played out, right? Obviously, it wasn't exactly the plan that Sainon had for himself, but all's well that ends well there for Arizona State.
Look who's in the chat.
Yeah,
forks up.
That guy, Nate C. Hustle, look at him. A guy who put in a ton of work with Mike on that top 500 transfer big board over at drroto.com. Always good to see Nate C. Hustle in the chat. Some love with some fire emojis or something. Drop them in there. Peanut Butter Posse, I see you. Just drop some fire emojis. I see your bit. Okay, I laughed. Fire emojis. Do that too. Okay, here we go. Texas Tech landing its big fish with the JT Toppin transfer. We've been talking all offseason that Tech was going to need to strike gold, which coincidentally is also what it took to get JT Toppin a bunch of bars of gold, I would imagine. Texas Tech did get their big fish after some near misses. So, Eric, what does Toppin bring to the Red Raiders?
Yeah, Toppin comes in as our 10th ranked player for good reason. 6'9", 210, played 36 games last year for New Mexico. Averaged about 12.5 points, 9.1 boards, steal, and almost 2 blocks per game. So the prototypical stat sheet stuffer archetype. And because of that, he is a legitimate game changer on both ends, right? Like, all of this that we're talking about was what he managed to accomplish in his freshman year, right? So the scary thing is, like, this guy still has some pretty considerable upside after, nearly a double-double plus a steal and almost 2 blocks per game. Tech desperately needed a big win like this. They went out and they understood the assignment and managed to pull it off. Like, they have to be feeling great about Toppin coming in. Obviously, Toppin gets to play in the high majors now, gets to develop, alongside the rest of this Red Raiders team in the Big 12. So yeah, speaking of the rest of this Red Raiders team, Mike, let's take a look at their current roster.
Yeah, taking a look at the current roster, and I'll say we talked to Coach Miles and we promised him that we consider the Mountain West, high major. So if you mean the best conference in the land, then absolutely, it's definitely a step up. I mean, going from the Mountain West to the Big 12, I think he's going to be able to take that jump here. But you look at Tech's current roster that we have pulled up right here, like what are the strengths? I mean, 3-point shooting and versatility for sure. Weaknesses, man, like I'm a little worried if they have enough size, right? So you're going to bring in Elijah Hawkins from Minnesota. Kevin Overton's coming in from Drake to replace Pop Isaacs. I think that's the fair trade there. And so even with Toppin coming in, right, you would think he would be the absolute, kind of just star player there. But I think really the season's going to go as Darian Williams goes. His versatility is what makes their offense special. He's also going to be playing next to a very, very good facilitator in the aforementioned Hawkins. Hawkins had over a 40% assist rate. So the Toppin piece, though, it's critical because, one, he's super talented, and two, their front line was beat up last year, and this kind of solidifies that forward, and you can maybe play some 5 for you. But you worry a little bit that you don't want him playing the 5 all the time. So the 5's still a question mark. You're bringing in Federico from Pittsburgh, more of a defensive stopper, Yalaho here, he flashed, but he's more of an offensive player. So clearly this team is going to be able to shoot it from deep. Walton shot 48%, which was top 10 in the country from 3 last year. McMillian shot 38%. You lose Joe Toussaint, you lose Pop Isaacs. Both of those guys shot 29% from 3, and you're replacing them with a bunch of guys that, shoot over that Heinrich line and shoot over it by a clear margin here. Hawkins shot 36% at Minnesota, Overton 34%. So, right there at it in his freshman season. You think he'll take a step forward, playing alongside these guys, especially a guy like Hawkins with that massive assist rate. So question is too, like what can Cambridge give them coming off the injury in that front court? So I think that's going to be a question to look at. But obviously Toppin, just a stud. Texas Tech beating out Texas for this one. And I'm kind of surprised based on the pre-draft workouts that he didn't go to the league. But here he goes. We'll get to see what he can do in the Big 12 here, Jay.
The toughest conference in all land for the Raiders, the Red Raiders, and Toppin. Thanks for hanging out with us. Those like and subscribe buttons do your part. Moving on now to the next headline. Cedric Coward following Coach Riley to Washington State. I guess the 4th player that Coach Riley has brought over from his Eastern Washington team. He had other options at the Power 5 level. He definitely had options, but it was sort of one of those things where it was in the back. We all saw this coming. This wasn't very, didn't catch us off guard, I guess. So, Eric, what kind of player is Coward? What do you think about Coward?
Yeah, so we've got him checking in the low 300s on the big board, right? He's the 6'6", 205 wing that played at Eastern Washington for Coach Riley last year, a coach that we chatted with last year as well, right? So definitely comes in with a familiarity to the system. Big, strong kid, played 30 minutes plus per game over the course of 32 games, 15.5 points, 6.5 boards, shooting 38% from downtown, right? So it's coming off of this big year. He transferred into Eastern Washington, I should say, from the D3 level. He can really shoot it, right? He's answering the bell. He's jumping up another rung in competition. His game it feels like it's pretty underrated, right? So, we've got him again in the 300s. I think some of that has to do with, seeing him replicate or even expand on this success at this next level with Washington State. But a lot to be excited about with Coward. Mike, he now steps into a pretty interesting role in this Washington State roster. Who's he going to be suiting up with there for the Cougars?
Yeah, so we got a chance to talk to Coach Riley last offseason, and we talked about how he had just done a tremendous job offensively, like just plays a very, very fun style. Get the ball, get it up the floor, get your shots off. Just an offense that you definitely want to play in. So it's not surprising to see some of these guys just kind of explode out of nowhere. Washington State and Oregon State in an interesting situation, right, with the whole dissolving of the Pac-12. They're going to be playing some WCC games this year, which is kind of interesting. Might actually be better than maybe playing in a Pac-12. Obviously, you got heavy hitters in there like St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Santa Clara is a very good school. So you got some teams that's no slide at all to the WCC, but in a transition year, right? When you're bringing in your system, trying to get some of your guys brought over, you're bringing 4 guys with him: Coward, Ethan Price, Danny Rickstrup, and Lawan Watts. So the star upside on this roster, like, it comes from Isaiah Watts. Like, anytime this kid got minutes last year, he erupted, showed a bunch of promise, played 26 minutes against Washington, had 15, 6, and 2. That was a game in late March, and then made some crucial plays in the NCAA tourney win over Drake. Everybody picked Drake to beat Washington State last year. He played 22 minutes, had 7 points. He had 3 steals. One of those steals and buckets was down the stretch there. So an important piece. I can't wait to see him get major minutes, which he's probably going to have the ball in his hands a lot with this roster. Nate Calmese comes over from Washington, Indy Okafor from Cal. So guys are looking for bigger opportunities that played in the Pac-12 last year. We don't exactly know what their ceiling is because we haven't quite seen it, which has really been a staple of Coach Riley's success, right? Like you just talked about Coward a second ago, Eric, where, D3 guy comes up, becomes an all-league type player in the Big Sky and is, on the NBA draft board radar and tested and went through the workouts and everything. And now he's following a coach over to play in that fun offense for sure. So, yeah, Washington State, kind of interesting. We'll see. The whole Pac-12 dissolving thing, it's going to be weird to watch these teams. Some of these teams playing in the Big Ten, Stanford playing in the ACC. It's going to feel really awkward to just follow all these teams and how they transition and all this.
No doubt about it. Yeah, that Coach Riley conversation was the fun one. Make sure you get over to our YouTube page if you're not already there for some reason, and look at the old coach interviews tab that we have there. Includes Chris Victor of Seattle U. Man, it's all coming down. We got more coaches coming, as we said earlier on. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons while you're here so you don't miss anything. That we're doing one more headline to get to, one more bit of business before we get out of here. International signing season is here. Earlier it was Caleb Love season, and now it is international signing season. As BYU adds superstar guard Igor Demin, easy for me to say, from Russia. A lot of buzz around this kid. Jonathan Giovanni from ESPN projecting him as a lottery pick next season. So obviously for Coach Kevin Young out there and BYU, a huge get for them. Eric, Mike, let's start with you this time. Mike, as we get into the summer, we're going to start seeing more and more of these international signings, obviously, but a big one here for BYU. So tell us about Demin.
Yeah, a 6'9" point guard. That's supposed to be a lottery pick in 2025 coming to BYU. So, yeah, this is awesome, right, for BYU fans that lost Pope and didn't know exactly what they were going to get. What are you going to get? An explosive playmaker that can score from all 3 levels, like all the all the adjectives to describe a top 10 potential lottery pick. Like, you watch the film, it's pretty impressive. So, man, like, we'll see how he's able to do in a tough Big 12. But we can't also forget, like, Illinois also went out and got themselves a player in Kasparis Yakasionis, who is going to get some minutes for them, another international type guy. But, both of these kids have a lot of promise. I'm excited, especially to see Igor play. We'll see how he does as Patrick drops in here. What's up, Patrick, man? Good to see you. Appreciate you joining the show. Asking about the Bewley twins. Yeah, they're an interesting case. Not a lot out there right now as far as what's going to happen with them. They went the G League route and then now trying to come back to school. So at this point, like, why not just let everyone it's all pay for play anyway. Like, what does it matter if they played in the G League last year? For sure. Johnny K asking Magic, maybe last 6'9" point guard. Man, I got a chance to look at like 10 minutes of footage from this guy, and I'm like, sometimes you can't, it's all highlights most of the time, right? So take it for what it is, but it's like, man, this guy just actually like explodes on film. And there would be a reason why everybody's talking about him as a top 10 pick. And then Peanut Butter Posse asking, what do you guys think deciding factor was for Russian to play at BYU? Yeah, I don't know if we have all the details on that one, but I think money is it's international kids. So I doubt it, right? Like, because international kids can't get into this NIL pool, so maybe not money. Maybe it's money that we don't know about. But who knows, man? Like we'll see, man.
It could be because of all of the rules on BYU's campus. It's very disciplined out there in Provo, and maybe it's like, okay, I know on campus what the expectations are, and this is where I'm going to go and keep my head on straight. Yeah, and I'm going to go onto the league.
Also, Coach Young was assistant for the Phoenix Suns, and he was probably going to be an NBA head coach. Had been in the running and been a finalist for a lot of jobs. So why wouldn't you want to go play for a coach that, obviously just came off a roster with Bradley Beal and, Devin Booker and all these other guys? I think he knows a thing or two about coaching guys that are top 10 type picks. So
dang, the modesty to not even say Kevin Durant on that list. Well, that guy.
Well, guards. Yeah. I mean, Kevin Durant's a 6'10" forward. So, but yeah, I mean, Beal and Booker there as a guard, like you can learn from them. So, yeah.
Excellent stuff there. Loving the live chat. Loving the energy that we brought today. A lot of that is Big Blue Nation, which we love, of course. So thanks for being a part of the Green Screens Media universe. And thanks to everybody else that joined us tonight. That includes Joe Cornett, Brad Pageant, Eddie Congress, Fupa Doncic, Carrie Darren Rudder, Babu, the beautiful bearded bastards, Patrick Hart, Devil Doc, Mapesy Hustle, Johnny K, and yes, our guy, Peanut Butter Posse, of course. And yes, buddy, I did see your question about, do I know anybody that walks an animal in a stroller? The answer is yes, my friend. I popped so hard when I saw you type that in there because I literally do know somebody that does that, and it's kind of wild. But anyways, we still love you. Never change, my guy, my gal, whoever you are. Thanks for hanging out with us. And make sure that you don't go far from the Green Screens Media YouTube channel and the One and Done Show, because our interview with Coach Sendek of Santa Clara will be coming to you live tomorrow night. That's right, the summer road trip fired up.
Get your snacks. Get your drinks.
Oh, it's fired up, and we are rolling. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. My name is Jay Heinrich. I'm the conductor of this train, pushing it down the tracks, baby. That's Mike, the captain of the ship. I do the train. He does the ship. He does the ship. The other guy on, that side, I'm never good at the pointing stuff, but that's him right there.
Joke's on you.
I got it right that time. How about it? No, now you're going to switch it. No, maybe you didn't. That's it. Eric the Blue at Fantasy Nav in those Twitter streets. The Baron of Bread of this whole thing. I do the train. Mike does the ship, and Eric, if there's another, I would say he probably does the unicycle.
Very clearly, I do the carbs.
The hoverboards. He does all of that stuff for us, as well as so much more. So show him some love. Hit him up in those Twitter streets, and make sure you follow at One and Done CVB on Twitter as well. That's right. We're in Elon's hellhole too. You don't just have to find us here, but make sure you hit those buttons here on YouTube. We appreciate you for hanging out with us tonight. Can't wait to see you. Coach Sendek coming to you live next. Hit those buttons. Take care of yourself. Tell somebody you love them. Let's get this bread, baby.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.